There is a kind of person who can enjoy a dinner right up until somebody mentions money. A friend across the table says the word bonus, and nothing visible changes. The food keeps moving. The smile holds. But behind their eyes, a calculator quietly opens. By dessert, they know what everyone earns. Who is ahead, who is behind, and exactly where they rank. Nobody notices because nobody is supposed to. People like this carry something worth naming: the invisible scoreboard, a private ranking system that never stops updating. It is why they are sharp, driven, and almost impossible to underpay twice. It is also why no win ever feels finished. Most people file this under envy. Envy is the wrong file. So today, we are opening the right one: where it comes from, the 5 signs you carry it, and how to retune it without dulling the edge. Because nobody installs a system like this on purpose. Something installs it for them. Start with where it comes from, because there are 2 roads into this pattern, and you probably walked one of them. Road 1 is wiring. Comparison is not a modern invention. It is older than language. In one of the most replayed experiments in primate research, capuchin monkeys worked happily for cucumber slices until they watched a neighbor receive grapes for the same task. Then the cucumber came flying back at the researcher. Nothing about the cucumber had changed. The context had. You have felt the office version of this. A salary that felt fine on Friday can feel like an insult on Monday once you learn what the new hire signed for. Your brain runs on the same accounting. Deep in its reward system sits a mechanism scientists call reward prediction error. In plain terms, dopamine does not score the prize. It scores the gap between what you expected and what you got. And expectation is set socially by what the people around you are getting, which means some brains, often the sensitive and ambitious ones, ship from the factory with the comparison volume turned high. For a brain like that, a salary was never going to be just money. It was always going to be a position. Road 2 is not wiring. It is training. Picture a kid at a kitchen table, report card in hand, waiting, not to hear how they did, to hear how they did compared to the cousin whose certificates lived on the grandmother's fridge. In that house, love was never exactly withheld. It was ranked. Warmth arrived when the numbers beat somebody else's numbers, and cooled when they did not. The psychologist Carl Rogers called this conditions of worth. The fine print a child absorbs about when they get to matter. A kid raised on that fine print learns a quiet equation and learns it for life. Being ahead is being safe. Being ahead is being loved. 2 different roads, same destination, because somewhere along either road, the measuring stops being something you do and becomes part of who you are. And a ranking system that lives inside you does not wait for performance reviews. It clocks in everywhere you do. Sign 1. You never ask, but you always find out. Out loud, you agree that other people's pay is none of your business. And yet, it is 11:47 on a Tuesday night. The room is dark, and there is an incognito tab open to a salary website with a co-worker's job title typed into the search bar. You read listings for jobs you will never apply to, not to escape, just to price yourself. At parties, you ask sideways questions. So are they treating you well over there? And quietly file the answer. You know which 2 websites publish pay ranges for your industry, and you visit them the way other people visit the weather app. The psychologist Leon Festinger mapped this decades ago in what he called social comparison theory. When there is no objective way to know how we are doing, we measure ourselves against other people, and salary is built to be unknowable. Most workplaces wrap it in silence and call the silence professionalism. So your mind does what anyone does with a censored map. It starts filling in the blanks itself. Take that off your conscience first. This was never nosiness. It is a mind trying to locate itself inside a system that refuses to publish the coordinates. The instinct is not the problem. The problem is that this particular search has no finish line. Every number you find creates a new number you need, and a mind that prices itself in private cannot stay neutral in public. Sooner or later, somebody else's good news walks straight into it. Sign 2. Other people's good news lands twice. The group chat lights up. A friend got the promotion. Here is the honest sequence. First comes a flinch, a small cold drop behind the ribs, there and gone in half a second. Then comes the real warmth, because you do love them. Then comes the typing, congratulations, with a second exclamation point added so the first one does not look thin. Their news landed twice, once as their joy, once as your data point. Psychology has a name for that drop. Relative deprivation, the well-documented experience of feeling poorer while nothing about your life has actually changed. Your rent did not rise in that moment. Your salary did not shrink. Your position did. And in many people, the brain books lost position the way it books lost ground, as a real loss. The cost is not the flinch itself. The cost is the hour afterward, the quiet self-disgust, the wondering what kind of friend feels something like that. So hear this clearly. The flinch fires before choice exists. It is arithmetic, not character. Character is what you do in the seconds after, and by that measure, you have been passing a test you never knew you were taking. Still, a bigger question should be bothering you by now. If other people's wins sting like this, why do your own wins never seem to settle anything? Sign 3. Your wins expire early. Remember the last raise, the email confirming it. For one weekend, you walked differently, and the new number ran through your head like a song that was finally on your side. Then the second paycheck arrived, looking exactly like a paycheck. And by the end of the month, you caught yourself back on the salary site, pricing the next rung. The win did not break. It expired. Researchers call this hedonic adaptation, the mind's talent for turning any new level into the new normal, often within weeks. Whatever you earn becomes the floor you stand on, and nobody feels grateful for a floor. But this pattern adds its own twist to the science, and the twist is the cruel part. This inner system has no setting called enough. It displays exactly 2 readings, ahead and behind, and it refreshes every time anyone around you moves, which is why the money never does what it promised. You do not get to feel rich. You get to feel, briefly, less behind. People assume the fix is a bigger number, and the world is happy to keep selling them that. Some part of you already knows better. It whispers on payday, why does this already feel like nothing? That whisper is not ingratitude. It is pointing at the sign underneath all the others, the one almost nobody admits. Even in private, sign 4, the number stopped being money and started being you. Watch what happens inside when somebody asks what you earn. It does not land as a question about compensation. It lands like a question about your worth as a human being, asked in public, with the lights on. That is why you round up, not to deceive anybody, to protect something, or you deflect with a joke and change the subject, and your heart rate tells you it was never casual, and it is why a disappointing offer never reads as a market mispricing your role. It reads as a verdict on you, delivered by a judge you never get to face. There is an established name for this arrangement: contingent self-worth. Self-esteem that is rented instead of owned, pegged to an external metric that can move without your permission. When the metric climbs, you get to feel like somebody. When it stalls, the feeling gets repossessed. Same person, same hands, same history, same heart. Different number, different worth. The cost here is volatility in the one place you need solid ground. A flat year at work quietly becomes a flat year as a person. You defend a figure in a negotiation with the intensity of somebody defending their name. Because inside this pattern, that is exactly what it is. And a verdict that heavy was never going to stay in your head. It has been moving into your body for years. You have felt it. You just filed it under stress. Sign 5. Your body reacts to money talk before your mind does. The stomach drop when compensation comes up in a meeting. The shoulders that climb toward your ears every review season. The way you open a thread about salaries at your company with the same tightness other people feel, checking whether they locked the front door. None of that is a mood. It is biology doing what it was trained to do. A nervous system that has spent years treating rank as high stakes develops what psychologists call hypervigilance. a threat scanner that never fully powers down. Cortisol, the body's alarm chemical, starts pricing ordinary conversations as danger. A colleague mentions their offer, and your pulse answers before your thoughts can. The scan follows you everywhere, even on holiday. You are on a beach, phone in hand, and somewhere in the corner of the day, a ticker is still quietly running the standings. The cost of this sign is the simplest and the heaviest one: rest. You cannot fully put anything down because some part of you is always on shift, guarding a ranking nobody else can see. And this is the moment the pattern crosses a line most people never notice it crossing. A system that scans this hard does not stay a spectator forever. Sooner or later, it stops watching your life and starts steering it. Because here is the pattern's final form. It stops being a lens and becomes a manager. You start choosing roles by how the title will rank, not by how the work will feel. You start staying in jobs that hurt, because leaving might read as falling behind. You start going quiet about the dreams that do not rank at all. The small business, the slower city, the year with less, because there is no column for them, and that trade deserves to be named with respect. The instinct that kept you oriented in every room you ever entered is now standing between you and the life it was built to protect. Protection has been quietly replacing presence. So the real question is no longer whether you compare. You do, and you will. The question is what to do with a scoreboard that refuses to power down. You do not smash an instrument like this. You re-aim it. And the re-aiming starts with one binary question, available in the middle of any comparison. Is this reading telling me where I am or what I am worth? Location is information. Verdict is injury. The three principles that follow are just practice at keeping the first and refusing the second. Principle 1, change the opponent. The comparison reflex insists on a rival. That part is non-negotiable wiring. So, hand it a rival that cannot wound you. You, 12 months ago. When the flinch hits, ask one question on purpose. Am I ahead of my own last year? And let that be the number that counts. Principle 2, let the flinch pass through without becoming a conclusion. You cannot stop the drop, but you can refuse to sign it. Next time the group chat lights up, feel it. Name it inwardly. That is the scoreboard talking. And then send the congratulations you actually mean. The friendship stays clean. The machinery loses its casting vote. Principle 3, choose your reference room. Comparing is not optional. The inputs are: curate the feeds, the follows, the rooms. Keep only reference points whose whole lives you would actually trade for, not just their numbers. That is not hiding from the game. That is picking a league that tells the truth. None of this makes you the villain of your own story. The part of you that always knows the standings is not pettiness wearing a disguise. It is precision. Very few people can read the economics of a room the way you can, and that reading has protected you more times than you could count. You were never greedy. You were paying attention. Only one correction is left, and it is small. Somewhere along the line, your finest instrument was handed a gavel, and measurement started moonlighting as judgment. You are allowed to retire the judge and keep the instrument. A scoreboard that reports without sentencing is not a weaker one. It is the first honest one you have ever owned. Out of these 5 signs, which one runs loudest in you? Tell me in the comments. I read every one of them. And if somebody came to mind while you watched, somebody who goes quiet whenever money enters the room, send them this. It might put words to something they have carried alone. I'm Apex. Subscribe if you want to keep decoding the patterns underneath who you are, because we are nowhere near done.